Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody. We miss seeing you at Electric on Tuesday nights. We're tired of talking about COVID-19, so we are going to tell you a story about four people, two of them young, two of them older, who put their faith into action.
All right, well, the first story I will tell you, it's about a young girl from Israel, and she had been taken captive by a band of army guys, basically, and she'd been taken back to their land as a slave. And this story takes place in 2 Kings chapter 5, so you can go read it there. But the commander of this army, his name was Naaman, and he was highly regarded and well respected by his people because through him the Lord had given his army many victories in battles. But he had one problem he could not solve on the battlefield. Naaman had leprosy. And it just so happens that this young girl from Israel, who'd been taken as a slave, she actually lived in Naaman's house. She worked for his wife, and she was her handmaiden. So anyway, when this young girl heard about Naaman having leprosy, she went to his wife and she said, "If only my master would speak to the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." And as the story goes, Naaman did end up going to visit with Elisha, and Elisha told him what he needed to do to be cured of his leprosy. Naaman followed those steps and he was cured. So this young girl who was unnamed, because of her belief in God and because she believed in the healing power of God through the prophet, and because she was willing to speak up when she saw someone in trouble, this all led to Naaman being cured of his leprosy. So that's the first story. And you've got another one.
Yes, I do. I'm going to talk about Daniel. There are several stories that I'm sure you've heard about Daniel, but this one is a little less common. Daniel was 17 when he and his friends were taken captive from Jerusalem and taken by King Nebuchadnezzar to the palace in Babylon. Now, the plan was that they would educate these men, they would, teach them things they needed to know, and then after 3 years period, they would appear before the king, and they would actually then become part of the king's army and go into service into him. So as part of this plan, they wanted to serve the people they captived the same as everybody else in the palace, which meant they were offered fine wine and choice meats. Well, Daniel had a problem with that because he had been taught that if meat had been dedicated to foreign gods or false idols, that to eat that would make you unclean. And he was not willing to do that. He stood up for what he believed and told the chief official and asked if he could eat vegetables and water. After some negotiations, that's what he got to do. And basically, he was actually healthier than the other people that were eating in the palace. So after about 3 years, the king talked to Daniel and his friends and found that they were more knowledgeable, that they had wisdom, and that the king said that they were 10 times better than the other people that had been taken from Jerusalem. So God rewarded Daniel for his faithfulness and obedience.
All right, very good. So now we are going to tell you about a couple older characters. This takes place in the book of Luke, chapter 2, and I'm going to tell you about Simeon. Simeon was an old man. He was considered a very righteous man, and he was dedicated to the Lord. And Simeon had a special promise from God. God had told Simeon that he would not die before he saw the Savior of the world with his own eyes. And so he worked in the temple, and one day Mary and Joseph come in for the first time with baby Jesus. And Simeon saw them. As soon as he saw them, he went over and he picked up Jesus and held him up. And he gave a beautiful prayer that you can read toward the end of chapter 2. And he said, now I have seen the promised Savior of the world. So God's promise to him was fulfilled. So you've got one more.
And I'm going to talk about Anna. She was also in the temple when when Joseph and Mary brought baby Jesus in. And Anna was an older lady. She was 84. She was a widow. She never left the temple. She spent her whole time worshiping God, praying, and fasting. Well, when she saw Jesus for the very first time, she also recognized him. So there were two witnesses there that the Savior of the world was here on earth. And she praised the Lord. She told people around her. She was so excited about it. And what a privilege she had to announce the coming of the Lord.
All right, so there was our 4 stories of people who put their faith into action. We hope you can join us in a few minutes on the Zoom groups, and maybe we can talk about them a little more. So it was nice talking to you.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you again. Bye.
Bye-bye.